Chapter 1, Crossing Paths. Elliot Harper never expected Boston's drizzly spring to change his life. At 28, the advertising executive spent afternoons in cafes, designing campaigns and hiding behind his sketchbook. On April 15, 2025, he sat sipping a flat white at Café Azzurro when an umbrella collided with his table. "Sorry," said a calm voice. Elliot looked up to see a tall man with dark curls and clear blue eyes. The man smiled politely and extended a hand. "I'm Adrian Reed." In that moment, Elliot felt something he hadn't felt in a long time: electric curiosity. They exchanged small talk. Adrian was visiting from Seattle for a publisher meeting. Elliot shared his hometown, his design dreams, his love for jazz. Before parting, Adrian slipped his business card into Elliot's pocket, promising coffee later that week. Chapter 2, First Spark. They met the next evening at a riverside cafe. Under warm lamplight, conversation flowed easily: travel, childhood memories, guilty pleasure movies. Adrian confessed his struggle with his family's expectations. They expected him to follow in his father's footsteps in finance. Elliot revealed his fear of revealing his sexuality to his conservative parents in suburban Massachusetts. At closing time, Adrian asked shyly, "May I walk you home?" Under the blooming cherry trees, they shared a tentative first kiss. The city around them faded momentarily. The world was just the two of them. Chapter 3, Rising Tension. Their romance blossomed quickly. Weekends brought museum visits, jazz clubs, Sunday brunches. Both felt alive in each other's presence. But reality intruded. Elliot's family discovered photos of them together. His younger sister confronted him with tears. "Why didn't you tell us?" she asked. His parents responded with silence and coldness. Adrian faced his own conflict. He called his mother from Seattle and hinted at seeing someone. The response was curt: "Just concentrate on business. Don't bring drama home." Adrian's father cut Adrian out of a family inheritance conversation. The pressure mounted from home threatened to overshadow their happiness. Chapter 4, World vs. Love. Rumors began at Elliot's office. A senior client whispered that Elliot's relationship could harm the agency's conservative image. His boss suggested he keep personal life out of view. Meanwhile, Adrian's publisher meeting in Seattle coincided with a tense board meeting. His colleagues murmured that a public association with LGBT activism might risk funding. In late May 2025, Elliot and Adrian stood in Elliot's tiny apartment overlooking the Charles River. "They want me to tone it down," he said. "I can't hide you forever." Adrian's face hardened with sorrow. "If they fire you, or freeze me out, what then?" They clutched each other, tears mixing. For the first time, they both feared: is love enough when the world stands in the way? Chapter 5, Impossible Choices. A turning point came when Elliot's parents arranged an intervention, a weekend at their family lake house, where they hoped to bring him back in line. Simultaneously, Adrian's publisher asked him to publicly distance himself from LGBT issues or face cancellation of his book deal. Elliot and Adrian arrived at their respective families feeling betrayed. Elliot's father watched him silently during dinner. His mother whispered, "We won't lose you, but change." In Seattle, Adrian's mother said, "You'll regret this if you're not careful," and his father's messages grew icy. They met late night on Zoom. Both felt the weight of expectation. Both felt the tremor of fear. Elliot began packing, planning to move to Seattle after Adrian's publisher accepted a compromise proposal from him: stay closeted in return for job security. But Adrian was haunted by guilt. He didn't want Elliot uprooting himself over a compromise he felt ashamed of. Chapter 6, Defiance and Distance. Their plans came undone in early June. Elliot's parents terminated his car allowance and demanded rent money. He lost an internal promotion because of rumor leaking. Disillusioned, he boarded a flight to Seattle. Adrian, after being forced to retract statements about queer representation to secure his book release, greeted him at the airport. They embraced amid jet engines and noise. For a moment, adversity vanished. But at the hotel, the stress seeped in. They argued. "Adrian, I felt humiliated asking you to hide." "Elliot, I couldn't watch you crumble." Hurt feelings pushed them apart after midnight. Chapter 7, Reflections. For 2 weeks, they lived separate lives. Elliot rented a small studio, Adrian stayed at the publisher's guest apartment. Distance hurt more than silence. Without the other's support, each felt lost. Elliot stayed late in the studio. Adrian wandered Seattle's ferry docks at dawn, staring into Puget Sound. They missed laughter, small touches, companionship. One rainy morning, Adrian texted, "Meet me at the Pioneer Square steps at 6?" Elliot responded, "I'll be there." Chapter 8, Confession. Under a fountain dripping rainwater, Adrian knelt. He took Elliot's hands. "I lost sight of us when I was too scared to be me. I pushed you away because I thought it would protect you." Tears blurred Elliot's vision. "I ran because it hurt to fight alone." Their confessions spilled. They promised to fight together instead of apart. To accept consequences as a united front. They kissed, rain turning to soft drizzle, sealing their renewed promise. Chapter 9, Facing the World. Together, they took small but brave steps. Elliot wrote a heartfelt social media post celebrating Pride Month, sharing an edited, respectful photo of them hand in hand by the Charles River. Reactions were mixed, some fans celebrated, some companies sent neutral statements. He lost a freelance client, but 2 new firms praised his authenticity. Adrian gave an interview to a progressive magazine. He spoke honestly about queer writers, visibility, and the pressure to compromise. His publisher publicly endorsed his stance. Book sales spiked. A few traditional investors withdrew, but his editor backed him. The publisher's stock endured minor dips but recovered. Adrian glowed with new confidence. Chapter 10, Building Their Life. By late June, Elliot received a beautiful email. He'd been promoted as creative director at a smaller firm that valued inclusive branding. With new job security, he moved into a cozy rented home in Seattle's Capitol Hill neighborhood. They found a small apartment together, painted it pale blush and forest green. On weekends, they hosted game nights, curated playlists, and cooked dinners from Elliot's childhood recipes. Chapter 11, Hope Beyond Fear. Not everyone accepted them. Elliot's sister asked to meet, wanting to understand. Hesitantly, she visited and apologized. Over coffee, she said simply, "Thank you for inviting me in." Adrian received a stiff but polite note from his father, "Resume business discussions when you're ready." It wasn't warm, but it wasn't a wall either. They traveled to Vancouver and Portland, joined local queer book groups, and attended drag brunches and author panels. They grew stronger regionally and personally. On July 25, 2025, 1 year after their first meeting, Adrian handed Elliot a handwritten poem and a silver ring. Under fairy lights on their patio, Adrian proposed, "Would you stay with me for real, openly, by my side, forever?" Elliot's eyes brimmed with tears. "Yes," he whispered, "against all odds." Against all odds, continuation, brave together. 3 months had passed since the night Adrian proposed. Their shared apartment had settled into a quiet rhythm, 2 coffee mugs on the drying rack, post-it notes with "I love you" scribbled in sleepy handwriting, playlists echoing through the tiny living room as they danced barefoot on Sunday mornings. Wedding plans were underway, but not in the traditional sense. No big venues or extended guest lists, just 20 people, a garden in the San Juan Islands, and a promise under open skies. "We've had the world's opinion," Elliot said one night as they curled under a blanket. "This day should be ours." Adrian nodded. No performances. Just truth. But peace, however earned, was never permanent. One Monday, Adrian's editor called with difficult news. A prominent newspaper had published an op-ed titled "The Danger of Mixing Politics with Literature," criticizing queer authors like Adrian for prioritizing identity over substance. While the article didn't name him, it was clear enough. Sponsors started pulling out of his upcoming book tour. "That's how they strike," Adrian murmured, slumping into a kitchen chair. Quietly. Elegantly. Like nothing ever happened. Elliot sat across from him, silent for a long moment. "So what are we going to do?" "Nothing, I guess. Lay low. Hope it passes." But Elliot's expression sharpened. No. That's not what we do anymore. He pulled out his laptop. Over the next few hours, he worked on a visual storytelling campaign titled Stories Uncensored. It featured quotes from queer authors throughout history, accompanied by powerful visuals Adrian had once sketched. They launched it on Instagram the next day. Within 48 hours, the campaign went viral. Fellow authors reposted it. Bookstores pledged to stock Adrian's book. Independent publishers offered support. One sponsor even reversed their withdrawal and doubled their investment. That evening, standing at their window, Adrian leaned into Elliot's shoulder. "How did you know?" "Because I've watched you fight to be heard. It's time the world listened."